We are live, Steve. We are back with ProPresenter Power Talks. Me, Sheik Mozart, with the ProPresenter Poppy, Steve Michael
Steve Michael.
Dirks.
Where did Michael come in? I feel like little
I mean,
Michael Scott,
it just seems
little Michael Scott from
it
The
seems pretty
Office,
obvious.
assistant to the regional
You just
manager.
have my middle name is Mike. You have the vibe of someone whose middle name is Michael.
Oh, great! I don't know if that's a compliment or it's a good thing. I love The Office,
It's
obviously
not.
back here, but Michael
it's
Scott. You remind
not.
me of a Michael Scott. That's a way to start a
It's not
Monday
good or
morning.
bad. It's just I didn't say Michael Scott. I said somebody whose middle name is
Is
Michael.
Michael. My middle name is not Michael, but we should do a
No.
so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Check.
it's not, but so. Well, dude, we're back. Sorry that we had to
We're
punt last
back.
week, but it was crazy
Yeah.
week. So,
You were you were at a conference. I was at a conference.
yeah, yeah.
We we we, were,
Which
we had
conference
some.
were you at?
We're busy. I was at the Bible Creative Conference, which was an online conference, which is nice. But I got to present and talk about the 5 types of kids' church visuals.
What are the
And
five type?
if
You want to give
you,
us a little sneak peek of what 3 of the 5
yeah,
were?
sure. The 5 types of kids' church visuals. Now, of course, these are digital visuals, right? So it's not like magic tricks and object lessons and stuff like that. Um, it's countdowns, bumpers, transitions, games, teaching, and worship. Those are the 5 types of kids' church
Look at
visuals.
you! Look at you! Look at
Yeah.
you!
Yes, sir.
Rolling.
Yes, sir.
Nice. Well, sweet. That was
So, yeah,
I think
if you have,
was that all week? Was that conference all week?
yeah, it was Wednesday through Friday.
Nice.
Yep. So I got to I did one of the breakout sessions, and then I did a bunch of moderating for other breakout sessions throughout the conference as well. So it was great, and their system is really cool, Steve. They use a system called Ringside Central that is designed specifically for online conferences. It's just really cool.
Sweet. Oh, awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to.
And tell us about your conference.
Well, I got to serve one of our ministry partners. Um,
Mhm.
their name, the Awana is the partner I serve with, and so they had an event out in
Yep,
Anaheim,
heard of them.
and got to partner with them and helping put on the ProPresenter aspect of what they were doing for this event. It
Okay.
was incredible, awesome event. Really enjoyed being
Yeah.
out there, and we love partnering with them. So yeah, so
Right. Yeah.
and as anything, when you're always out, you kind of, if you're like me, you try to dig in and learn new things or tweak things or figure out different ways of
Hmm.
doing things. And it was an opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
So that was really fun. So,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Great.
So it was great.
And you're going to be sharing with us some of the things that you learned
Yeah, I
over
got
the
a
week.
couple of things that I kind of came across in my prep for the event that I thought might be helpful and
Hmm.
actually probably something that I'll start playing around with using as well. So I thought we'd just dive into them, talk about them.
Yeah. Let's do it.
And one thing I'd like to always preface with is like, I'm still probably even test betting some of this myself and maybe not ready to necessarily
Yeah.
go live
Right.
with it. But this is a great opportunity for if you're listening in, engaging with us to play around with it and start thinking through how could I use this in a live environment, a live setting. So,
Right.
yeah, you want to dive
Yeah.
in?
We're in beta mode on
We're beta
this.
mode. We're beta mode. I mean, I used a
Yeah.
couple of things last week, but yeah, definitely beta mode. Test it for yourself so you kind of get comfortable with it. So, okay, well,
Okay.
let's
Let's
see.
go. Let's dig in.
Let's dig in. Can you guys see that? See my
Mm.
screen?
Steve, before we start, can you tell us a little bit about some of these visuals, some of these moving backgrounds that you're utilizing?
Yeah, so I brought in a couple of new Steam packs that are yet to be
Hmm.
released. So
Right.
we'll
So
get
this is kind of a sneak
this is
peek.
a sneak peek. So you guys are able to
Yeah.
see
Ah,
this
look at those
colorful
too.
brushstroke pack is going to go live tomorrow on the Church Visual website. Obviously, a really colorful pack could be an amazing, incredible
Right.
Easter pack. I can already see some
Mm.
backgrounds that I think I'll want to use for some stuff that I do at the church I serve with. So incredible
Right.
motion content here. And all of this was made possible by yours truly, Sheik Mozart. Everyone, claps for
Yeah, well,
Sheik.
Steve, I don't want you to think that that's why I brought
Well,
this
no, but
up. Of
I want to
course,
shout
I
out to
just
your incredible artistic, value here. It was incredible. So,
yeah, no, yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, yeah, they look amazing, and I did do an incredible job with them, but so I
so
appreciate
okay.
that,
Well, we'll keep moving. We won't put you in the spotlight for too long. But yeah, so Sheik made these, and then up next week, coming live on the Church Visual site on next Tuesday, will be this dynamic rays collection,
Mm,
which we're going to kind of play around with that, and then we'll also probably try to dive in and
which
play around with which again was
would
created by
shake
yours
also.
truly, Sheik
Yes,
Mozart. Everyone,
yes.
give some
Yeah,
props.
all I ask is for the people that use it to just remember. Just
Just
remember.
remember us little ones when you make it big.
Yeah, there's an artist behind every product that you use.
Yeah, so I thought let's dive in. I thought we'd start the conversation with pre-made content, and then I'd like to show you guys. So
Yeah,
today the topic is countdowns, timers, and countdowns. We all use them. We all love them. We all need them, probably. In whether you're kids or adult, adult venues, you're needing it to count down to a service. Kids, I find, you're probably even using it more because you're counting down to a service or maybe counting down for a game
right.
timer or whatever it might be. So I thought we'd dive into kind of some different ways of approaching countdowns and kind of let you see what works best for you. Obviously, first and easiest step with content like we create at Church Visuals, you can you can easily and quickly and effectively download a countdown and start plugging and play using it. Your first question might be, well, Steve, that's great. It's a 5 minute countdown, but what if I need a 60-second countdown or a 2 minute countdown? And so there's some ways you
Mm,
could potentially approach doing that with a pre-built piece of content. So one way could be that you could duplicate the item and go into the inspector and you could say, you know what, I only need a 2 minute countdown ready to go. So I'm going to go down to here and find, you know, 2 minutes right here. And I'm going
mhm.
to start here because there's no text. I'm going to do a little bit of a fade in so that it's not a quick cut. And I'm going to set that. And then when I click here, it'll start a 2 minute countdown like
Wow.
that. And you're like, well, I need a minute
That's
countdown as well. Well, you can do the same thing here. Go down to a minute, find Shake did an amazing job of leaving it right there with
mm,
no text,
right
right
there.
there. You can set the current frame so that you show that one
Right.
minute
Yeah,
countdown,
that's what I was gonna say too.
and then
Yeah.
you go to this one, and we'll do that again. So this will help your team know, where you're at. So you'll see that.
Sure.
Boom! Now I've got a minute countdown right there. I've got a 2 minute countdown right there. I've got a 5 minute countdown right here. So you can preset some
That's
stuff just with
the trifecta.
yeah, you can you can a trifecta. You need at least all three of these if you're in kids ministry. Now, adult ministry, we probably don't need this many because we usually are. Um, but it's great because you can quickly and effectively with pre-made content in ProPresenter, duplicate some items up, add some new stuff, and make yourself some triggers to trigger different stuff. And you can do what I like to do is if it's a pre-show countdown, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do a 5 minute countdown, but I want these ready. I'll disable them so that someone can't click them unless we actually decide we want them. And then if someone says, "Hey, I want a
Okay.
2 minute countdown," well then you can click on it and go. The disabling just allows you not to be able to click into it. So when you click into it, it skips the slide with your space bar. So
Okay.
it just doesn't allow you to by accident clip into it. So pre-made
Sure.
content, incredible for that. Another thing, with the pre-made stuff that's really cool is you could also, we've shown you this before, you know, in the countdown we're kind of transitioning, so you wouldn't really want to do this, but for some of these motions and stuff, if you're like, well, I just don't love the pink, I want to kind of keep that green color, well, you can kind of hue shift
Mm,
some stuff up. And so if you wanted to hue shift up and do a more blue look, desaturate a little bit, you could potentially shift up the look of what that welcome looks like. So you can
So
shift some
you
stuff.
really have an incredible amount of control over the look of what you're doing.
Right. Correct. Yeah. So yeah,
And
that's
you can slow
that's
it down too if you want.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Or you
You can
can
go
right.
into the inspector and come over to this section, which has a bunch of playback information. But you can slow the play rate down to 75%, let's say, and that'll slow it into 3/4 of what it was before.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. So these aren't countdowns, obviously. I know we're kind of veering a little bit, but just wanted to kind of give you that, like, pre-made content. You can manipulate countdowns, use that. But then also, like, with the pre-made stuff, you can set up, like, what I like to call slides for pre-made layers to put on. So in our packs, we're doing a lot of this now, where we're going to give you different layers for what you might need in your event. Join us online. Thanks for joining
Right.
us. Welcome. Giving, events, all that kind of stuff. So um,
And they're PNGs
they're PNGs. So the way you
with
can
a
use this in
transparent
Pro
background.
is you can start a background looping. And so this background is going. Let's make sure it's set to loop for us. It's looping now. And so now you have a looping motion background. And then what you can do is you can put an element on the slide. So, and the way you do this is I'll duplicate this and I'll show you. So let's do a events one. So I'm going to add media. I'm going to go to my dynamic rays design content folder. I'm going to go to events. I'm going to add that in. I'm going to use the existing because I already imported it once, and so I don't want to re-import it. And now I can put that slide up over top of the background. So the background will
Yeah. Wow.
continue to loop. And because I put it in as a slide content element, not as a media item that's going to cut to it, but it's actually just an item over top of the background, that'll actually lay like that. And then I can go to welcome. So you can quickly and easily and effectively load up what you want, on screen, right there. You could also make your own if you're like, well, man, I have something specific that I want to make that's not events or welcome. I wanted to say, thanks for joining us, kids, or something. Well, you can go get the
Right.
design file, open it up, figure out which font it was, which, let's see. And I think we said this was Brennan font, which is
Brennan. And then
so you
B.
can
Yeah.
go
There it is.
online and purchase that from Envato. If you already have a subscription with Envato, then you can download it, and you can download that font, and I can set this font up to be there. I can add a little bit of
Hmm.
a stroke and shadow, just like that one had, and that one had kind of a gold shadow, if I remember correctly, and you had a little bit of like a gold thing,
It was like a glow.
glow.
Yeah.
So now you can put your own text up and format it, and work to the text that we had was all caps, so you can make it all caps um, here.
Hmm.
You could space this out to be more uniform. Really, you could play around with it however you want it to be. So this is how you could create your own
Right.
titles and stuff. But what I wanted to show you is today was you can also create countdowns natively in ProPresenter as well. So if you are interested, and maybe some of you have done this, maybe some of you know about this already, but you could potentially, let's add a new slide here. And what we'll do is we will set this text box up as part of the slide to be a countdown box for us. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come in here. I'm going to make it Brennan. I'm going to just type for our sake this to kind of play around with sizing of it real quick. So we're going to make this large. I'm going to get this even larger than we had. So you might do that. Maybe you don't want it to be bold. I think we had light. You could potentially, if you wanted it to be more bold, you could do that.
Yeah.
So you can play around with that. And then what we'll do is get that set up.
With you shrinking that the text box, did it affect the dimensions of the font? Like did
No,
it stretch
no,
the
yeah.
font?
So this just you'll see the font is
Okay,
still
I
there.
see. Yep.
So you can
Yeah.
shrink the size of the box, but where that could be. You're bringing up a good point. That could be dangerous if you decide to create the font to be too big. So if I make the font 1,000 point font, well now it's way out of the bounds of the box. So you got to
Yeah.
keep your
Right.
font, and you got to think about how large the font could get. So if you're dealing with a scripture, this is where
Oh,
you can get
sure.
real
Yeah.
dangerous if you have a huge font and then you limit the box real small. But for a countdown, I'm
Right.
only going to ever have a countdown in this box, and it should only be a countdown that is maybe 10 minutes at max, right? So there's no need for me to have
Okay.
huge amounts of space, right? And I've got plenty of padding here, so then I can snap use these grids to make sure my box is centered. Okay, so I have centered it
Hmm.
vertically and
Hmm.
centered it horizontally now, based on the program itself is actually calculating that centered for me. And you'll notice if I click on it, you'll see that it's fully centered with these grid lines are all matched up and perfect. So then I can go to visibility, and I can set this to only show when a timer is running and has time remaining on it. So, so now there's no timer counting, so you'll see that nothing is showing right now, right? But if I were to
Right.
set this up to be a 30
Well, I
second,
wouldn't say nothing. Wait,
well, I
Steve,
mean, there's
I
a
wouldn't say
background
nothing
showing.
is
You're right. I
showing.
mean, not saying nothing.
Beautiful
Beautiful
background.
background
Yeah.
only is showing. And now you're ready to show a countdown. You can do that. Well, let's go in here and actually set this up to actually show that so that the visibility is working. Now we go to the text part of this, and we say this text is
Okay.
linked to a timer,
Oh, okay.
and we say it's linked to that timer, and we set the timer up to show what we want. So this is where you have to do some manipulating. You'll have to set up, do you want it to show the seconds, which is really
Yeah.
obnoxious probably. Do you want it to show super long hours? No, it's probably not going to be an hour long countdown. So what I would do is
Right.
1 minute. I don't want to show necessarily 60 minutes because I'm probably only going to do small minute countdown, and then I'm going to do the second hand. And now I've got that set. The one thing we're going to need to play with here is, so once I show this and I start this and I go, now it's showing this. But you'll notice that it's centered, and the text, the
Hmm.
lines are kind of moving. It's jumbling as it counts down, and that's because it's
Right.
centered the box. So as the characters are changing, it's recentering every single time. So what I tend to try to
Yeah.
do to keep that from happening is I will left justify my text, and then I'll bring it over. I'll shrink this box down. So that's center. More than likely, it's probably going to be
Steve,
off center
you
to
know
the.
what? You know what I might do if you duplicate that.
What's that?
So if you duplicate it and set one of the text boxes to center,
Uh huh.
and then justify the other one, you can line it up to the center, to the one that's centered. You know what I mean? So you have a
So let's see. So do this
yep,
centered.
yep, and then center justify it as well.
Okay.
So now once the other one is left justified, you can line it up to the centered one.
Actually, not a bad idea, my friend.
Steve, I do this for a living. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, let's see how it plays out. So
Okay.
let's do this. So now it's showing both. Let's see if we took away
Yeah, you'll right.
this one.
Which that was kind of a cool look too.
It's kind of a cool look, huh? Um,
Yeah.
it's still
Yeah, but you'll
showing.
you'll you'll see what it's doing. I mean, at this point, once it's lined up, you can delete the center justified one.
Right. So let's do this again. So now it's justified in
Yeah.
a way that it's
Right.
keeping the text from jumbling. So that's a
Yeah.
pro tip for you guys there if you are, wanting to keep it from jumbling and moving around. But one
Yeah,
thing
because
that I
that
would like, if ProPresenter is looking and interested in tips, I would love to see them add the option to remove at 60 seconds or less, remove this zero marking.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, plus the
Maybe
mono
someone knows how to do
space.
that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
monospace. The spacing would be nice to have that better. Like, to
Hmm.
be honest, like being able to say like I want it to be monospace centered instead of having to
Right.
kind of play around with this a little bit. But what's really cool about this, what I was playing with, and what you can do, I learned this actually from while I was watching a video of my buddy Brad Weston, um, Mr. Pro Presenter himself, and I saw something and he was talking about these, and it's kind of cool. So like you can set up what he uses them for. His church is to have a countdown, but then when the countdown is expired, just show text. So you'll see
Wow.
here, like
Yeah.
that shows welcome when the countdown's not running, but now the countdown is running and it's all the same slide. Like
Yeah.
once it expires, it'll show the countdown, and when you re-trigger a countdown, it'll show again. So that's pretty cool. Like it's a pretty cool feature. What I like about that is what's nice about that is it gives you some flexibility.
Hmm.
So there's a couple ways this might be helpful for your ministry. Um, what if you're like, guys, I just want to set a countdown to start at 6:30 on Wednesday night. I want to be able to set it really far out, and I don't want to start late. I want to start right at 6:30. Well, you could set down to count to that time. So if we're
Oh
going to
wow.
start at 12 p.m. and we're going to start regardless of what's going on, we're going to start at that time. Well, you can set that up to count down to that time. So now it's counting down to 12 p.m., which is
To
11
12
minutes and
p.m.
50
Right.
seconds from now.
Oh,
So
interesting.
so you could set that to start at a specific time and count down to it. So that could be
Yeah.
helpful for your pre-service stuff. If you know that every Sunday we're going to start at a church I serve with help with right now, starts at 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, and they have countdown 2 times set, and you know, at at 6 in the morning it shows hundreds of minutes because it's obviously hundreds of minutes
Yeah.
away. But it's a great option for that. So um,
Well,
that's
what's funny about that is that works for the sanctuary. If you're doing kids ministry, at least in my time doing kids ministry, there were a bunch of times where it's like, hey, let's restart that countdown.
right. Well, and so that's where this is helpful, running it in ProPresenter like this, because if you're like, well,
Right.
we don't want a 1 minute or a 2 minute, we want like 7 minutes. Well, you can restart the
Yeah.
countdown here and go to countdown timer, and set it to be 7, and start a 7 minute timer right there. And
Wow.
then
And
if it
that
gets
was a fast transition over.
a really fast, quick transition. So
Yeah. Cool.
you know, and when you go like that and reset it, and you can do that. So that's a really cool tip for kids ministry especially. You probably can't count down to a time because you might be a little flexible in that, and this allows you to
Right.
do that.
Well, yeah, and what's cool too is that oftentimes I've been in situations where you're trying to reset the countdown, but you don't want to reset it all the way, so then you got to like scrub through, and it's really awkward and it looks terrible. But this way, you don't even have to scrub through. You're literally just setting it.
Right. Yep. Yep. And I want to show you
Yeah.
guys one more thing that's really helpful for you probably to consider how you could use this in your ministry. But these headers actually allow you to trigger stuff in a timer setting. So you could set your timer to have a 5 minute countdown here, and it'll start it. And so here's what that means. Boom, 5 minutes. But
Wow.
what's really cool about it is if you're like, oh man, the 5 minutes expired, I need another 2 minutes. 2 minutes, boom, trigger. So you could
Oh,
set it right
yeah, that's
there and
cool.
fire it, trigger it there. You don't even have to go into this whole menu and restart it and all that. You can just trigger it from here, and that'll
Sure.
trigger that. So you can have that
Wow, that's
set.
great.
So you can literally, to be honest, like it's really cool because you can have the background with your countdown stuff laid into it. Um, have that all as one slide. So let's just do that right now. So we can set up let's say we want to do a different background on this. Well, boom, boom, it's all there. Now I can trigger whatever countdowns I need to show up, or add whatever time I want to. Trigger, boom, trigger 4 minutes. All
Sure.
that, all that can be done quickly and on the fly. So, really helpful for probably student kids ministry venue to have that kind of
Right.
stuff pre-prepped, pre-shown to your team. Um, what's really cool about ProPresenter, we kind of started with some of this tech stuff. You can create some shadow and stroke to pop stuff out in front. And this kind of had like a glow, which I think you kind of almost had a white glow to it, right? When you
Yeah,
make
yeah,
that, when you
I think it was a white glow, but that yeah. So I wonder if you could in the drop shadow set the distance to 0 in order to fake that.
so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
want
the
it to
offset to
be
0.
set it to 0, yep, and then blur. You can blur that out,
Right.
and now you got a glow.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've kind of got this like that. Yep.
Yeah.
So you can play around with whatever setting works in all this text box function. This text is actually
Yeah,
putting stuff around your physical. Like, see, that's not what you had. But you can play around with what was.
right. Yeah,
So you had
what's amazing as we dig through ProPresenter, just how many options there are within the program to edit things and have it look the way you want it to look. It's pretty insane how flexible it is.
right. Yeah, you can do so much. Um, there's so much tools to help you execute stuff out without having to have a huge high end video editor. And
Right.
then with tools like hopefully what we offer and how we can serve you and your church, maybe even makes it easier to allow you to
Hmm.
just bring stuff in and create stuff customized for you. That's why we call them theme packs. Is they're not there is a lot of stuff that's pre-done that hopefully you can use and execute as is. But there's also the reason we build our packs in the way that we do is we're giving you maximum flexibility to go and create your own stuff. So I don't,
Right.
as I use theme packs in my day to day with churches that I serve, I'm using the theme pack to kind of jumpstart, kickstart, and then I kind of take it and execute it out the way that I want to execute it out. Um,
Right.
so do the same thing, play around. Don't be tied into, well, I can only use the stuff they've pre-done. No, make your own stuff, play around with that. What does that look like? This colorful strokes pack is a great option. So like if we, you know, wanted to change up the look, we could go into
Yeah, and
here.
I think the look of the text on this one is probably easier to duplicate.
Right. Yeah. And I want to say this was an Adobe font. It was I think it's Den alternate. Yeah. So Den,
Okay.
and I want to say it was 400. We'll just kind of shift that in. We'll make this Den alternate. Um, and we'll make this 400 as well, which is too big. So we'll come down to 350 and look at that. 300. Look at this. Whoa, not 1,000. 300. Boom. So you could play around with, matching what was the look of that.
Yeah.
So this, I want to say you had more of a defined. Let's look at your
I
content
think
here.
it was
You
kind of a
you
hard
actually
drop
had a
shadow.
black, you
Yeah.
had a hard drop shadow lower that was kind of offset
Right.
heavy. So what we can do is
Yep.
come into here. We go here. We go to shadow. The offset was vertical, so 180.
Hmm.
Um, the offset was probably 20. No, this is right. 270. Let's try that. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
And the blur was probably not as blurred. 40, 30, black.
Yeah, drop the opacity a little bit.
Yeah. You go into here, drop the opacity down to 50%.
Hmm.
So now you're getting a little closer to what we had really quick off the
Right.
hand. You can make that however you want that to be really quick. That was, I've got
Yeah.
that all set. So once you build this out, then week to week as you change stuff up, you can do that. So we can set the same shadow setup, so 270. What we say this was 30, I think.
Oh, that looks good right there.
10,
Maybe just drop the
15
opacity
on the
on the
welcome
drop
there.
shadow.
Yeah,
Yeah, look at your graphic designing right in the program.
right in the program, right there. Yep.
That's
You
cool.
don't even, and then you can play around with this visibility setting. So maybe you change it to be this, and then you change this welcome to show. So there you go, welcome. And now when I start a
Yeah.
timer,
Wow.
there it is. And then when I stop the
And then it'll
timer,
go back to yeah.
it'll go back to
Wow.
welcome. So it's pretty sweet, man.
Can
So you can play
you
around.
once that countdown is finished, can you trigger it to go to the next slide?
So that's the question. Like you can do that with the media element. I think in order to do
Okay.
that, you would have to set a timer. So you would have to
Okay.
set it to
Okay.
go how long. Um,
Sure.
I don't think you can run it in the slide to automatically go to the next slide.
Okay.
Because I think you have to. That's the one reason that I like using these because here I can set a timer and I can set it to
Right.
0. And when it gets to the end of that timer, it'll automatically go and fade. I use this a lot at churches I help because it'll
Okay.
automatically transition out, finish the video, and then it'll go to the next cue, which is the next slide right there.
Yeah. But bada bing,
Which
bada
this,
boom.
which we'll set it now that I actually changed it. So boom, and then it'll go.
Yeah.
With
Okay.
this, I believe you would have to set up a go to next timer, and then you would have to set a time of if it's going to be a 5 minute countdown, a 5 minute. The only problem with that is that it's if you get off, it's just a mess. So
Yeah. Right.
it's kind of like picking, what's the best for you. Is the pre
Yeah.
timing really important, and you guys can stay consistent to that? Do that. If not, then it may be better to have some flexibility and just know that you have to do that. Now you can start a playlist. You can schedule a playlist to start at a time. So you could potentially create a new playlist item in the queue that starts at the time you want to start your service, and it goes away from whatever countdown and starts the service at that point. So yeah,
Yeah. Makes
so
sense.
that's timers. There's obviously we could potentially, if you have other items about timers you want to cover, drop us a line in the chat. Actually, Shake, do you have that form from last week available? Do you have that survey
Oh, I
form?
can. Let me see if I can pull it up quickly.
I can maybe pull it up for us real quick. Um, yeah, I'd love for you guys to take a look at our forum we posted last week. If you guys have any things that you want to suggest, topics we should cover, stuff that we should do, that you want us to talk about, haven't talked about, people we should have on the show to have a conversation about, I'd love to hear that from you. We'd love this to be a community where we can help serve each other. And if you
Right.
have things you want to discuss and want to be a part of the conversation, we'd love for you to fill that form out and just give us that feedback. We'd value that. We posted it last week. Things were crazy. We got it out, I think, middle of the week, and hadn't heard any feedback yet. So if you have any feedback on things that we can cover for you and your church, questions specific, like, hey, I'm trying to do this, love for you to send me your files and we can look at your actual specific setup and discuss,
Yeah.
hey, if that was me, I might do it this way, or what's the struggle we're having, and so, yeah, I came across an issue last week. Just a shout out to ProPresenter and their team. I ran across an issue where I was having I was not seeing it's a specific, really in depth feature, but the building function was not showing me the ability to manipulate individual items on the slide for building purposes. And it went up the chain to tier 2. I finally got to a tier 2 guy at ProPresenter. He logged
Wow.
on and found out that my window had just been pulled right up to the right spot where you couldn't see all the settings below it.
Okay.
But it was
Yeah.
crazy. He and I both had missed it. So their team's awesome.
Right.
I just want to shout out that like these are pieces of gear and platforms and things fail. I had a small
Right.
glitch
Yeah,
failure
for
at the
sure.
church we were at. Power blipped and we lost the LED wall and everything for a split second. It
Oof.
happens. It's just part of running high pieces of gear, and obviously we try to
Yeah.
minimize that. We try to fix things, but I just got to
Yeah.
shout
Create
out to the
redundancies
ProPresenter team
also.
that like, yeah, create redundancies if it's something that you is mission critical and you need it to work. Having redundancies might be an effective tool for you. But just know, like, if you have problems, if you have issues that maybe it's glitching and it's something that's not normal that if you talk to us and I'm like, yeah, I don't have that problem, you should definitely keep the ProPresenter team on your list and go submit reports. They will look at it and they will try to help solve problems that you might be facing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
so
in that Google form also there's a space to recommend some folks that we can talk to
right,
on this show.
yeah.
Uh,
So if you know, I might have lost you. I might have lost you, Shake. Did I lose you? Or you back? You back? You back? You there? I can hear you typing. Well, guys, we're gonna go ahead and I don't. We'll see if I can get Shake back on here in a sec. A technical glitch on our end, maybe. Um, but send us your questions, your thoughts as well. If you don't want to fill out the form, you want to send something directly to us. ProPresenter at churchvisuals.com is where you can send us a direct line as well about this discussion, about this part of our training that we'd love to continue the conversation with. So if you have questions, feedback, feel free to email us, but you could also use the form. If there's people you know that we should talk to, that we should have a conversation with, one for if you want to learn more from them, if you want us to have a conversation together, we'd love to do that. Feel free to drop those pieces and suggestions over to us. And yeah, we will look forward to um, chatting with you guys next week. I don't know what happened with Shake's camera. We had him the whole time and then we lost him. So we'll just plan to sign off here. If you have any questions, let us know. We're praying that you have a great week. We're praying that maybe some of this was helpful, beneficial to you and your ministry. Colorful swatches, colorful brushstrokes drops tomorrow. And then our next pack is live next Tuesday, as well as a bunch of other media that we are actively loading up as we speak. We are slamming the website with a bunch of new content. So have a great day, a great week. We're for you, and we are grateful to be in it with you. See you guys.